Welcome to the next episode of the Path Less Chosen podcast, the podcast showing you the careers they don't teach you about in school. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Sol.
And today's guest is a woman called Sorcha O'Brien. She works as a fashion stylist. She's worked with brands such as Louis Vuitton and some big celebrity clients on red carpet events. There's going to be some very interesting conversations to be had in an industry that Sol and I know nothing about. But Sol, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what we're going to get out of today's episode?
Yeah, three things, Jamie. We're going to get an insight into the world of fashion, working with some of the biggest celebs on big red carpet opportunities. We're going to get a second insight of how to smash opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to climb your way in an industry you might not have a foot in yet. And lastly, we're going to know if Jamie and I could ever be fashionable people, or do we need a stylist?
Very good. Yeah, I think that's going to be an exciting conversation. Let's get her on. Perfect. Well, Sorcha, thank you so much for coming on. I think the best place to begin is just for you to tell us a little bit exactly what you're doing now and what a fashion stylist is.
Well, thank you for having me on. I am a fashion stylist, freelance, and then I also am working as a client advisor in Louis Vuitton, both based in London, which is really good. So I don't know, fashion styling is kind of like a really broad type of job. So it kind of goes from everything from dressing celebrities for like red carpets and like events, and then also doing TV commercials and like e-commerce things. So like say take like ASOS for instance, there's obviously like thousands of clothes on the screen at all times. There's someone like me who's putting them on the models and like making sure they look nice in the pictures, obviously with a team of people. So that's kind of the e-commerce side. And then like the celebrity styling is probably what most stylists are known for. So like one of the most famous stylists at the moment is Roach. So like he puts the clothes onto Zendaya. So that's kind of what I do. And so I've been styling for the last few years. And then in the last year or so I've been getting into the celebrity stuff. I've worked with a few different stylists, like learning from them. So like recently I've been working with Rachel Perry, who's a really talented stylist. So she does a lot of celebrity work. So like with Rachel, I've worked with Bella May, who's a fantastic musician, and Georgie Henley, who was the little girl in Narnia. So it's all been like really, really cool. So, and then like with Rachel, like dressing Sophie Haboo for the BAFTAs and like the Wonka premiere, and like for a few different things over the year, which has been really good.
I think the one thing that stands out is you talking about some of the big names that you've been working with. How do you go about speaking to those big names? Is it an application process? Is it a cold message and a hope? How have you got in contact with the amazing stylists that you've mentioned?
So it's all really like, it's very much, a lot of it has been the right place at the right time situation. So the first stylist that I worked for was Lucio Colapietro, and he was one of my lecturers in Milan, and I just got on with him really well. And he took me on as an intern, and then through him I met Adele. And then through Adele, I got my first like commercial shoot when I was probably styling for less than a year. And that first commercial shoot was with Ray-Ban. So that was through Adele. And then like from that, like moving to London and all of that, I kind of connected with an editor of a magazine who asked me to style a cover shoot for Jenny Waltzer. That's how Jenny and I met on set, and then we worked together. And then the same thing with Rachel Perry. It was actually one of my school friends from Dublin. Her boyfriend's like family friend is Rachel Perry, and she put us in touch, which was like, but it was again kind of through Instagram, and it was very much like right place, right time situation. Rachel needed someone, I was free, and it was just kind of like a very like serendipitous meeting, which is really nice because like myself and Rachel, we've been working together for almost a year, and like we get on really well. She's like a few years ahead of me in like career wise, so she like has kind of taken me under her wing and everything like that, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, it is lucky, but we love saying on this podcast that you make your own luck. Do you think the reason that I know, so cliche, right? But do you think you got to the point of being passed through these people and going up the kind of ladder by doing a really good job when you actually had the ability?
Well, I hope it's because of my work ethic, and I hope it's because I have the natural raw talent. But
of course.
I guess we'll never know. But no, obviously at each like interval, I'll have to say if they need someone and I am there, and then I'll say, this is what I can do. Here's my portfolio. This is my latest project. This is what I can bring to the table. And then hopefully they'll say, you're kind of good, come on board. So yes, it is, I don't know hopefully it's more about my talent and my skills rather than just being there. But I guess I'm still guessing about that one.
Yeah, fantastic. I think what's really interesting then is how do you see yourself being good in this role and in this industry? Is it the intellect side? Is it the creativity side? Is it a personability thing? How do you become and build that reputation in what's quite a cutthroat industry?
I feel like there's a lot of like different ways that you can measure success as a stylist, because like obviously there's the monetary success, but then there's also like someone giving you full trust and like handing over the full reins and saying like, no, we know you're really good. You can kind of like take the wheel type of thing. So there's like a few different like measurements of like success within it. I don't know. It can be quite cutthroat, and it's very like, it's quite competitive because there's so many, like especially in London, there are so many stylists there, and like there's only so many things that one can style. So like I find that like it's quite important to just almost be available and be ready to like kind of go, and like not minding that you might get a call at like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 at night saying, oh, can you be on set at 7:30, 8 the next morning? So like I don't know, there's a few different ways that you could like approach that, and the cutthroatness, because it's not, I wouldn't say it's like cutthroat, because it's like a small community, and like people do want to see other people like thrive, especially when like you're kind of bumping into each other all the time, and it's really nice to see other people succeed. And so it is competitive, but like I wouldn't say like cutthroat, because I couldn't imagine like some of the people like actually trying to like destroy other people's reputations, and like I know I wouldn't really do that. I'd say more competitive than cutthroat, but that's because there's it's a large amount of people considering the amount of like opportunities that might come about. There's a stylist in London called Amy Verdi, and she has like set up this like stylist community, which is really cool. It's called the Stylist Collective. So like I found out about it like my first few months living in London. I was at an event for London Fashion Week in September, like a couple of years ago when I first moved over, and like straight away I was like, oh yeah, I'm a stylist, I'm new to London, and it was just like, oh, you should connect with this girl Amy. So like now from that I'm like in this WhatsApp group with like 400 other stylists, and it's not just like in London, it's kind of becoming a smaller bit global. And like, you know, if I'm like, oh God, does anyone have a contact for, I don't know, Ralph Lauren? Someone will come back being like, it's, I don't know, Jamie at ralphlauren.com or what, like whatever it is. And like, so it is competitive, but it's also like nice to be in like that type of community. And I think people like Amy and people who are like within that community have like kind of changed the like culture of like, the like people kind of like help each other, which is actually really nice.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And I think, Jamie, I don't know if you found that as well, if it's different in different industries, or you think sport's a bit more of a guarded.
Yeah, I think my experience, Sorcha, is like it's an industry where when I've tried to reach out and try to like become part of like the community and speak to people to maybe gain advice from them or just like to help them out or for them to help me out, it's quite a guarded and protected industry. So it's actually really nice to hear you say that maybe in the fashion world there are people that are willing to help you, and particularly when you move to London and we're looking to kind of find your feet over there and in this world, which from the outside, no, Sol and I don't know anything about it, but we imagine it's very high pressure, very intense, can be very competitive, particularly between brands and also the people working within it. So it's great that there are, and you've been able to find the good people that are willing to help you and get in that position for sure.
No, it's really nice. And like, I think, like, of course there's going to be competitiveness, and of course there's going to be a little bit of gatekeeping, but like, I think I'm quite lucky in the fact that the people that I've come across have just been like absolutely lovely. And like, I don't know, it's also kind of nice because if you're like, because we'll all be going to like the same events and stuff like that, so it like makes sense to like make friends rather than like foes. I don't know. But no, I do get you that like it can be a little bit gatekeepy, but like for the most part it's been really nice.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we just wanted to say that the algorithm on your podcast provider works on the number of positive reviews that a podcast has. So if you wouldn't mind just going to the podcast and rating it however many stars you want, obviously, hopefully, ideally 5, but if you want to give it 1, that's better than nothing. So a few stars for the podcast would be unbelievable, and it would massively, massively help out getting this podcast to as many people as possible. And now back to the episode. Yeah, no, that's lovely to hear. And I'd love to actually go into the industry and the knowledge you've got itself, how did you accumulate the knowledge to get to the point where you're telling other people what to wear?
I don't know, because like I've always been like such a fan of fashion, as cliche as that is. But no, I don't know, like bless my mother, but she always let me dress how I wanted as a child. So like I would be like skirting out in my like communion dress, so like full on like mini bride in like, I don't know, like Croc sandals or something like that. Like, come on, we're ready for the beach or whatever. Okay, you do you. But like, I don't know, even as like a small child, I remember like going shopping with my mum and being so fascinated by like all of her clothes. My mum's very glam. So like I just remember specifically like going into the like department store in Dublin, and like they had a room with that she was ready with like all of the beautiful like dresses that she was trying on, and like finding the right bag to go with it. And like, I don't know, it's kind of from that I was just like, oh, this is so cool. But like obviously I was a child, I was just like a little bit of a magpie, that I like the sparkly one type of thing. But it kind of stems from that. But like I've been really lucky that like my parents and like my family, my sisters and everyone have been really like supportive in that way. But like even the school I went to is like fantastic, and it was like really like competitive. It was a hockey school and like really like academic, but they had a really good art department. So like I was able to like kind of get the creativity going with that, and like I was always in choir and like always in art. So like that kind of stemmed the like creativity, which was really nice. I got a really good art teacher in school, Mr. Rice. Like, that was really good, and like he kind of knew that I was kind of drawing little dresses, and like even my like English teacher could see that I was kind of doodling in the side of the page rather than I don't know, reading whatever book we were studying. But no, it was really good. And then like I always, growing up, my sisters and I, we were always brought to like every art gallery, every exhibition that was on in Dublin. We were there, type of thing. So like I had a lot of like exposure to the arts when I was really young, which was really good. Like even going to like different shows in Dublin, like I remember going to Lady Salsa when I was like really young, and that was the thing. Spangly outfits and the bright orange costumes. That was fashion. No, it was really good. And then like I went to university and I studied art history, so like always into art, always into kind of like the arts as well as like art history and everything like that. And then like, but always knew I wanted to do something in like some capacity in fashion. And I found a master's in Milan that was starting in the February, and one of the requirements is that you had to do fashion as your undergrad. So I called them up. Why don't you just call Taylor up? So I called up the Domus Academy in Milan, and I asked them, I said like, look, I don't have an undergrad in fashion, but I really want to go to this course. I think I would be great. And it was in fashion styling and visual merchandising. And I called them up and they're like, look, you can apply to it. You can we'll just have a look at your portfolio. So I was like, oh, okay, portfolio, perfect. Again, I did like a very much like essay-based degree. So they're like, okay, we'll have a look at your portfolio and then we'll make the decision. So I was like, no problem. No problem at all. So I whipped up a portfolio, sent it off to the Domus Academy, and then they really kindly accepted me to study there. And that It was incredible. And that was like an amazing course because there was like part theory, part practical. And because it was in fashion styling and visual merchandising, you got like a whole like experience of it. So it was like very much a creative direction type of course, because you're learning how to like go from like concept to like finished project. And like it was just a completely 360 degree like view on the like the like, not the like design side of fashion, the like almost the commercial side of fashion. It's because it's not quite business and it's not quite design. It's kind of somewhere in the grey area. And it was such a cool like exposure, and like just it was very much a whirlwind experience. When I went there initially going to study visual merchandising, I was going to be the next Faye McLeod. That's the really impressive visual merchandiser. I fell in love with fashion styling and like the editorials, the way that the production on set was. I absolutely fell in love with it. And then like at that course I met amazing people, like some of my best friends in the world I met there in Milan, which was just so great. And then meeting all the like kind of the people that I was able to work with, like Lucio, Colapietro, and then like Adele. So like it was just like such a cool experience. I was living there for a year and a half, and then I decided to move to London. That's so that's kind of how the story went. I feel like I like grew my like knowledge in the way that like I just really was like interested in it, and I just kind of like wanted to consume everything about it. I guess if you just kind of find it interesting, it kind of makes it like it just comes about.
I just wonder, during any of that time, did you ever have a step back and consider maybe you weren't going to be able to turn fashion into a career and you were going to look to do something else, maybe more in the corporate world, or were you always set on this and never going in a different direction?
No, I definitely was not always set on fashion. It was always like a love and like a passion or whatever. But like the school I went to was a fantastic school and like absolutely wonderful, and I loved it. But like it was very much focusing on the STEM subjects, and it was focusing on everything like that. The first day of my final year in school, our headmaster, who was a really lovely lady, but our headmaster spoke to the final year in school, saying, well, whether you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something else, it will support you. So it was there was a very much a focus on medicine and on law and more corporate jobs. But it still was a very like supportive place for me anyway, and I still got to experience that. But I think definitely when I was in school, I was going to be I was going to be a doctor at one point. That was what I was going to do. One of my sisters, she's a doctor, so like it kind of, my elder sister was, so like of course I'll do it too. But like I think between just kind of growing up and kind of realizing what I do like and what I don't like, I really was kind of like went down a different pathway. 'Cause it was kind of when it came to deciding what to do after school, I didn't really know what to do, and I just wanted to go traveling, and I just wanted to do this, that and the other. Kind of tried to figure it out, and then my mum was just like, look, I think you would really enjoy university. I think you would regret not going, and like, look, do it for a year, see how you're feeling after the year, and then ended up absolutely loving it. So that's kind of how I got into what I was doing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing light on that. I think that we all also find that as like a common theme between guests, that they find a passion, they're not sure they can translate that passion into a job. They're in this education system that drives them to be Y and Z lawyer, consultant, banking, and they find it somewhere a path to go off. So I'd love to know, almost transitioning from that into like, what does your life look like now? Now you're not a doctor, now you're not a banker or a lawyer. Like what do you wake up and do you scroll on ASOS? Like I have no idea. I'd love to know.
I don't know. So the day in the life kind of changes every day. So like it depends on whether I am working in my retail job, which is in Louis Vuitton, or whether I'm working on a photo shoot that day, or if I'm working dressing someone for their album cover for the red carpet. So it really does vary. So I'll get up, I'll usually check my emails, and if I have a job that week, like an editorial or a photo shoot, I'll usually go onto my laptop and contact all the brands that I'm working with, check in with the team that I'll be working with at the end of the week. And then like the day the shoot comes, I will have accumulated suitcases full of different clothing and all the accessories and all of the shoes and everything. And I will go to the studio. I'll go to the studio to the photo shoot. Like, you arrive at the photo shoot, unpack all the suitcases, and then steam everything. That's kind of the first thing. But no, you kind of prepare all the clothes, you go through everything and see what the vibe is. Like, I worked on a wonderful shoot recently with a fantastic photographer, Kayla Raquel. So, like, we had, like, myself and my assistant Agostino arrived to this studio near King's Cross with about like 3 or 4 like 20 kg suitcases, and we took everything out, we prepared all of the clothing, and we went through it and said, okay, Kayla, because she was the creative director of the shoot and the photographer, so you kind of go through it all and decide what's going into the photo shoot. And that's kind of like how that works. And then you kind of take everything home and then you send it all back to the brands. So like, that's kind of how it's very much like works in the way of deciding before. There's a lot of like prep work that goes into it. So there's a lot of emails going around, like, and getting into, so they can send you out the clothing for the photo shoot, for the event, for the like red carpet, like for whatever it is. There's a lot of like communication that goes with it. So I think that kind of helps in the like fashion, almost like a friendly industry in a way, because you're like constantly in communications with like other people within the like circle. And then like, so that's the day of a photo shoot. And then like, I don't know, for the Wonka red carpet for Sophie. So that day Rachel was away. So I went to Sophie's flat, and she was getting her hair and makeup done by Georgia, her sister, Georgia Haboo, a fantastic makeup artist, and then Willis, who's her hairstylist, who's fantastic as well. So she was getting all of that done, and then Rachel, Sophie and I had a meeting earlier on in the week and decided what Sophie was going to wear, and it was this absolutely stunning corset. So it took a while for me to do up the corset for Sophie to wear for the Wonka premiere. And then Sophie went and did a fantastic job. She hosted the red carpet for herself, and Jamie hosted the red carpet for the Wonka premiere. So, you know, they were interviewing people on the red carpet. So that's kind of like how those types of days goes. But because like the day dressing someone for the red carpet is quite different from the day doing like a photo shoot or an editorial or like an e-commerce shoot, it's quite difficult to kind of like put in like, oh, the day in the life in like a small like soundbite, because it really varies every day. And like, it's fantastic and it's wonderful, but it is so difficult to explain.
Definitely sounds very exciting. And I guess with Sophie and Jamie, probably quite easy people to work with, particularly Sophie. If I told any of the females in my life that you'd met Sophie Haboo and gone to her flat, they'd be pretty jealous. But I imagine working with her on the fashion and everything for the red carpet is probably an easier subject to work with. I think what would actually be really interesting, probably a selfish question from Sol and I, given how useless we are and hopeless in terms of fashion, if we came around to you, knocked on your door and said, our podcast has done as well as Jamie and Sophie's, we're about to go on the red carpet, what kind of questions would you ask us, and how would you possibly make us look as presentable as I imagine Sophie and Jamie did that day?
So, well, sorry, I will preface that they are absolutely lovely, and that's all from me working with Rachel, so that's like so fantastic. But no, what questions would I ask you guys? I don't know. I kind of ask what's the event you're going to, number one, and do they have a dress code? Is it like if you're going out in tuxes, is everyone else going to be in shorts type of thing? I think we need to find out where you're going first. I don't know, and then just kind of figure out what you're most comfortable in. If you kind of like what type of vibe you like to go for. If you think Barry Keoghan on the Oscars red carpet in the red Louis Vuitton suit is more your look, then we can work with that. Or if you're more kind of going for the James Bond in the classic black tie, then that's okay. Well, just kind of figuring out what your vibe would be, and then kind of going from there and seeing what we can go for, seeing what we're working with. But yeah, because it's you, it would be you on the red carpet, so it has to show your personality and make sure that you are comfortable.
Yeah. Definitely. I think with Sol and I imagine we wouldn't want to push the boat out at all. Like, we'd probably just want to be told what's the fashion, what's the trend, what's everyone else going to do. But I imagine you also get probably some clients who ask you that they want to push the boat out and maybe set some kind of new trend or do something a little bit different, unique, right?
Yeah, no, it really does vary. Like, even my Jenny Walter, she's a fantastic actress, and she, like, for one of the events, she's like, oh, I kind of just want to be low key. But then, like, other times I've dressed her, like for the magazine cover, we did like an absolutely like beautiful, like big black ball gown type of thing. It was like a big tutu, and then with trainers, and it was like really cool. So like even like Jenny herself, she's happy to go for like all out for like that photo shoot. But then one of the events that we worked with together, she's just like, oh no, I'm actually really happy to be in a black dress, like let's go, you know, like a more simple dress. So it was kind of like, it really depends on the person and how they're feeling, how they want to present themselves at the event or at the party or on the magazine cover.
I love it. Well, Jamie and I will definitely be sending you a message with the outfit choices. Yeah, it's been so good listening to you, and we'd love to let you go on, but we want to ask you the last question, if that's okay, that we ask all our guests, which is, if you were to go back to it could be at the start of fashion school, it could be even before that, what is one thing you'd do the same, what is one thing you do differently, and what is one thing you tell yourself to motivate yourself?
So I think the thing that I would do the same is definitely move to Milan. It was the most amazing experience, and it was just like I was able to learn so many skills, meet so many different people, and just have the most amazing experiences. It was just so incredible. Probably something that I would change is become fluent in Italian, rather than the level that I got in Italian was getting by. But I probably wish that I became fluent while I was living there, because now trying to learn it is a little bit difficult when no one else speaks it. But no, because it is like one of the languages that's important in fashion. So hopefully I'll be able to learn that with fluency soon. And then the last question, I was thinking about this question when Jamie sent it to me, and I was sent it into a group chat. And one of my friends, she's an actress, and she's a really talented actress, Shona Gibson, and she was just like, Sorcha, like, it's so cliche, but like when you love what you do, you're not working. What you're doing, you're honing your skills, you're like nourishing your creativity, and like it's as when she sent it in, I like started straight away. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have to like keep going back and reading that message, because like I absolutely love what I do, but obviously in every career and in every job, there's going to be really tough days, and there's going to be stressful days. There's going to be days where like, oh my God, why didn't I do what all my friends did? But like, I don't know, I think if there's a reminder that like actually you really like what you're doing and you've been able to have like these amazing experiences, I think that's something that like I would tell my younger self, just like, yes, absolutely, it's going to be really, really cool, but it is going to be tough, but just like remember why you're doing it and that you really love it, and like it'll be really cool when you walk down to the newsagent and pick up the magazine and see your name in it.
Yeah,
love it.
Wow, fantastic. And what a great place to finish. I think that sums up everything that you've told us this podcast. And I'm so glad you are where you are, because hearing that at school you never really considered this might be a career and that you might go down the other route, I think what a wasted talent, passion and knowledge base that would have been, because now the way you speak about it and the knowledge you've accumulated, it's so well placed. And I'm so glad you do get to do it for a career. And it's exactly what this podcast is about. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, that was an Unreal episode. Enjoyed hearing all about the fashion world and getting some styling tips as well. Jamie, do you want to kick off with a takeaway?
Yes, certainly some good takeaways for my own fashion sense, but also some key messages around pursuing a different career. And I thought what she said to begin with about being in the right place at the right time, and she kept mentioning luck. Ultimately, she has created her own luck. And I know we've kind of spoken about that as a takeaway before. But I like that her message was that every situation she's landed herself in, she talks about making friends rather than foes. And even when she's gone into a competitive industry, she's managed to clearly have a good impression on people who are doing very well in the industry. And when she's been finding her feet, she's been able to impress them and present her own work ethic in a way that they, you know, this girl's got something about her. She could be successful in industry as well. So I like the idea that when you go into any industry, doesn't matter whether it's fashion or otherwise, if you're making friends, not foes, and presenting yourself well, you put yourself in good stead for the future.
Yeah, absolutely love that. I think, yeah, she's doing cool work and doing good work, which gives you like that referral momentum, which, you know, she just opportunity led to opportunity to opportunity. Definitely a big takeaway. Okay, from my perspective, and it actually follows on quite nicely for that second takeaway, is not only does she do good work and also learns how to like keep that momentum going, but she does it for people who are really far in the industry. And it's, I think that you learn, and you did as well with the sports industry, which is if you can get as close to people who are the big names, you know, the name drop she was talking about in the industry, then you just gather the momentum and the success and the habits of those people underneath you. You accelerate your career so much quicker if you can get as close to those people as possible. Massive theme across a lot of our podcast guests is becoming an understudy or becoming attached to someone who's smashing it in that industry. And I think, you know, that's something you can definitely relate to in the sports world.
Yeah, definitely. She's clearly surrounding herself in the right circles. So fair play to her, and it will only benefit her in the long run to be around these kind of people, definitely. Okay, well, I'll just finish on my final takeaway then, which I think is something that's such an important message, and the whole purpose of the pod as well, is that she spoke to us about how when she was going through school, yes, she had a good art teacher. She always had the passion in like the creative side and also in fashion, but it never really clocked or computed in her head that this could be a career. And that's because, like the strapline of this podcast suggests, the school never teaches you that you can go into being in fashion, etc. So actually what she's ended up doing is eventually realizing, and I'm so glad she did, that what she loved could actually be her job. And that's probably the biggest takeaway from that whole podcast, is that I'm glad she had that realization, because once she had that realization, she's now ended up doing a job that she can speak as passionately as she just did about.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I think it's amazing that we get to talk to people who have taken a jump and actually done something that they love doing versus following something that they might not be less passionate about. So yeah, very nice. And so to wrap that up, first is friends, not foes. Do good work and you'll create friends and attach yourself to that. Second is find the people that you want to work for and also attach yourself to those people. And the third, do what you love as a job and don't settle for anything else. Nice. Hopefully, yeah, very good episode. Enjoy that a lot. Completely different industry. Massive thanks for Sorcha for coming on and teaching us a lot about all of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Really enjoyed that one, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to that podcast. And please do, if you have the time, go to our Instagram at the Path Less Chosen Pod. Give us an interaction. Like, share, save any of the posts you can. It's a massive, massive help to the pod doing it, and we'd be very, very appreciative.